Hello, how are you friends about Muslims? Back again on this channel. This time we will discuss Islam in the city of Uzbekistan. What is the story? Uzbekistan, a former Soviet Union, now has a population of around 23 million people. Most of them adhere to Sunni Islam, Hanafi sect. Other religions that thrive here are Orthodox Christianity, Judaism, and a small number of atheists. At first glance, if you look at the magnificent madrasa buildings, mosques, and the manners of the people there who easily recite the phrase Asalamualaikum, there is a sense of pride among Muslims that in a country that only became independent on September 1, 1991, Islam is still strong. The haunted impression of being a former Soviet Union country also immediately disappeared when we met the local residents. If you claim to be Muslim, you will quickly encounter friendly attitudes in the local community. While extending their hand to shake hands, they usually accompany it with the words Asalamualaikum. When saying this greeting, they usually put their right hand on their chest while nodding their heads. And what is most encouraging, it turns out that Uzbek Muslims are very proud of their Islam. "Yes, I am a Muslim," said Abdul Majid. Seeing the reality of Uzbekistan society like that, perhaps it will change our perception of the former communist government of the Soviet Union. In other words, even though communists were in power for decades in Imam Bukhari's country, it turns out that Islam remains strong. But is that really true? Is it true that Islam is really strong there? Apparently not. The development of Islam there is very worrying. There is a feeling of sadness when we find out what the real condition is. The great names of a number of Islamic figures such as Imam Bukhari seem to be swallowed up by time when you see the life of the Islamic religion there. Even though they have a sense of pride as Muslims, it turns out that they never carry out daily rituals, prayer for example. In the month of Ramadan, they also do not fast. They were even amazed when asked why they didn't pray and fast. According to Abdul Majid, many Muslims in Uzbekistan do not know that prayer, fasting and other Islamic rules are mandatory for every Muslim to carry out. Apart from that, Islamic prohibitions, such as alcoholic drinks or liquor pubs, have also become part of their daily lives. The reason is to heat the sun, especially in winter. And strangely, before drinking the liquor they still say Basmala. Another thing that is very worrying, even though there are not that many mosques, there are not many people praying there. In the oldest mosque in the city of Tashkent in the capital of Uzbekistan, for example, you can see that only old people, aged over 50, are still praying diligently. Such a scene was also seen at the Imam Bukhari Mosque in Samarkand. Concern about the condition of the Muslim community in Uzbekistan will increase when we look at the history of Uzbekistan itself. Before being annexed by the Communist Soviet Union, Uzbekistan was a combination of three Islamic kingdoms, namely Bukhara, Khiva, and Kokand, which in 1860 to 1870 were under the influence of the Russian Empire. At that time, Islam was very successful in this area. Several cities in Uzbekistan, such as Samarkand, Bukhara and Khiva were centers of Islamic civilization which was known as the Silk Route connecting China with Europe. Samarkand is the burial place of Imam Bukhari, known to Muslims as one of the most authentic narrators of thousands of hadiths of the Prophet. Meanwhile, Bukhara is the birthplace of Imam Naqshbandiya, teacher and propagator of the Naqshbandiya order, whose hundreds of thousands of practitioners are now spread throughout the world. Remnants of the glory of Islam which entered Uzbekistan around the 8th century AD can still be seen in the architectural splendor of places of worship and education in that country. And the most prominent is the Imam Bukhari tomb complex. Apart from the mosque, there is also a madrasa. In the center of Samarkand, there is Registan Square. Previously, this was a madrasa complex consisting of 3 buildings with very unique architecture. The 3 madrasas there are Ulugh-Beg Madrasa, built in 1417 to 1420, Sherdor Madrasa, built in 1619 to 1636, and Tilyukari Madrasa, built in 1646 to 1660. Previously there was also a mosque here, but now only the monument remains. Inside the Tilyukari complex there is a museum and a dome building with amazing ornaments. Samarkand also has the Shaki Zinda complex, about 1 kilometer from the city center. This complex depicts the old city of the Islamic glory era of the 14th century. In this complex there are more than 20 buildings which are divided into 3 parts, namely, lower, middle and upper. In this city there is also the Gusamir complex, a figure who fought for that country. This complex is a work of Central Asian building art that is very famous in the world. Construction began in 1403, which was later linked to the death of Sultan Muhammad, Timur Leng's grandson. In this complex there are the tombs of Timur Leng, Ulugh-Beg, Sultan Muhammad, Timur Leng's family and relatives. An underground telescope is also found in Samarkand. The name of the area is Ulugh-Beg Observatory, which was built in 1428 to 1429. The building is cylindrical, 3 floors with a height of 30.4 meters with a diameter of 46.40 meters. The radius of the telescope there is 40.21 meters, so it can measure the coordinates of the moon, sun, and planets. From here Zigi Guragoni's star catalogue was made. After Ulugh-Beg's death, the observatory was rarely used. In the city of Bokhara, there is a Samanid tomb. This is the first building in Central Asia made of brick. This domed building was built by Sultan Ismail Samani at the end of the 9th century. According to the story, this dome is a symbol of determination. Bokhara can be called a city museum, because there are 140 monuments with old city architecture built starting in the 9th century. Here there are many palace buildings, mosques, and places of religious activity which are still well preserved. Unfortunately, all the glorious works of Muslims in Uzbekistan are now just memories, more of a tourist attraction sold to foreigners. Since the collapse of communist influence in the former Soviet Union countries, various efforts to restore the glory of Islam have begun. This can be seen, among other things, by the increase in the number of mosque constructions. Before 1989, the number of mosques here was only 160, but now there are thousands. Apart from that, Islamic educational institutions such as madrasas throughout the country have also been activated, and an Islamic college has been established in Tashkent. Perhaps there would be nothing wrong if Muslims from other countries participated in providing assistance for the construction of places of worship and reviving the love of the people there for Islam.